Hola mis amores, welcome to the Get Unstuck podcast, a show that teaches you how you can take control of your life so you can let go of the weight of disappointments and release the emotional baggage holding you hostage. I'm your host, Nory, a Garifuna Afro-Latina Get Unstuck coach, helping millennial women feeling stuck get out of their heads and overcome their paralysis by getting to know themselves. This is where you learn how to become the woman you want to be, so you can love yourself no matter what, confidently know exactly who you are, have full clarity on what you want, and fearlessly step into your purpose. In today's episode, I'm really excited to have a one-on-one time with y'all. Hi, how's your spirit doing? This is our first time meeting. Hello, it's a pleasure to have you. If you are a regular listener, thank you for continuing to be a part of the tribe. I love you. I appreciate you so much. Today is April 25th, is the day I'm choosing to record this episode, and it is a very special day for me because exactly a year ago, we arrived in Florida for what will become one of the most amazing, exciting, scary, overwhelming, and joyful and uncomfortable year of my life. And today's episode is called 12for12, Manifesting Growth. And I'm going to be sharing 12 lessons for the 12 months I've been manifesting my growth here in Florida. And so much has happened. I've learned so much over the past year that I really felt moved to open up my journal and pull these lessons for y'all. Lessons that show what growth can look like, is what it has looked like for me. And everyone's looked differently, but we all sometimes need a reminder that the growth looks different to all of us at different stages of our lives. And I wanted to share this with you all and really selfishly, so share it for myself later. If I ever forget any of these lessons, have this episode to lean on to so that I can be reminded of what's really important. So these are not in any specific order of importance. These came to me in my journal and I just felt like I wanted to share them. So let's get started. So lesson number 1 is you are responsible for yourself, for how you feel and how long you choose to feel that way. For many years of my life, I remember struggling with the idea of responsibility because I felt that when something made you responsible, it meant that you can be blamed if anything went wrong. And I didn't want to be blamed because to be blamed meant to be punished. And I didn't want to be punished. So I run away from responsibility because I didn't see it as something that can bring me joy, that can bring me peace, or that can help me become a better person. So learning in the past 12 months, I learned so much about being responsible, about what it means to be responsible in the first place, and why instead of looking at responsibility as something that can be quote unquote bad and painful, instead look at it as something that puts me in charge, as something that puts me in control. When I choose to be responsible for something and something quote unquote doesn't go as I would have liked, I'm okay with that. Because I know that life is not this perfect creation of things or events or series. I know that life is a collection of imperfect moments, a collection of our growth, a collection of our journey. And that doesn't need to look in a specific way. And it can look in many different ways. And having any desire for an outcome doesn't mean that the outcome is going to happen. And it doesn't mean that what does happen doesn't deserve the joy, the attention, and the understanding that it deserves. So when I learned that I was responsible for myself, something really powerful happened in my life. I began to look at things differently. I began to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I began to realize that I played a part in a lot of things, in basically everything. And that was a tough realization at times because who wants to admit to the fact that they are the reason why they have not unleashed their full potential? For so many years, I felt like there were other things that were responsible for my success, responsible for my love, responsible for my care of myself, my care of other people. I felt that there were so many things that were responsible for my honesty with myself, my honesty with other people. And I felt like I couldn't really be who I was or who I wanted to be. And when I became responsible for myself, when I understood that I was responsible for me, and that didn't mean that I was responsible for everything that happened to me, but it meant that I was responsible for how I chose to respond to those situations and the actions I decided to take as a result of those situations. When I realized that, I felt like I started living. I started to really be me, whatever that meant to me, in spite of what it looked like to other people, without caring or seeking the validation of others. And it was the first time I ever did that. And it felt amazing. It feels so amazing that I do my best to do it every single day. And it's just been the most important and beautiful part of my journey. Knowing that I can choose how long I feel about something has exponentially increased the time of joy in my life. Things happening, I remind myself, you can decide whether you're done with this or not. And then I'm done, because it doesn't serve me, it doesn't bring me joy, it doesn't fill my spirit. So responsibility, while it could be very scary to some, it has been really liberating to me. And I encourage you and invite you to welcome more responsibility in your life, to welcome the idea that you are in charge, and to not be afraid of being punished, because the only person that's doing the punishing is you, by not becoming the woman that you want to be. Number 2, discipline is a form of self-love, not punishment. I watched the Homecoming documentary from the Queen Bee, Beyonce, and I'm not officially a part of the Beehive, although I do love her, and I paid for almost a year for Tidal after Lemonade came out, even though I didn't listen to it all the time because of her. I enjoy Beyonce's music. I enjoy her as a woman. I enjoy her presence and her energy. And I watched the Homecoming documentary, and that I learned about who she was. This whole time I realized I've been admiring her artistry, but in that documentary, I really learned to admire Beyonce as a human. And one of the things that she talked a lot about, maybe not explicitly, was discipline and her ability to train and rehearse with an entire team of over 200 people for 2 hours, for a 2-hour performance, to rehearse for, I think it was like 8 months or something like that, just shows a whole new level of discipline and desire and drive and purpose. Like, you have to be so cemented in your purpose so that you know that this 8 months of work are going to be what you need to do for a 2-hour performance. And she has wanted this for so long. There's no one that can watch that documentary and not feel like Beyonce has wanted this performance, this moment, for so many years of her life. Every single detail, she knew it. Every single piece, every single person, she had already envisioned them. And that's the level of clarity that we can have with ourselves, with our intuition, if we stay true to who we are, if we follow our purpose, if we don't allow society to dictate how we live our lives, if we are willing to be responsible for ourselves, with ourselves, we can have that level of discipline that Beyonce had. And I've learned over the past 12 months that that's possible. You know, I've been able to exert discipline in a different way. And today I'm even getting more disciplined. And it's such a challenging thing to do because a lot of us think of discipline as a form of punishment. Because if you get disciplined, it's a bad thing. Even the word itself has this connotation around, do you discipline your kids, you know? And it's just become such a dirty word when it comes to growth. And over the past 12 months, I've learned that it's actually a form of self-love. And I think it was Will Smith that said it on his Instagram about discipline being a form of self-love. And I couldn't agree more, because being disciplined has allowed me to live the life that I want to live. Being disciplined has allowed me to reach a number of my goals. And it's also my inability to be disciplined that has kept me from achieving the things I want to achieve, that kept me from becoming the person I could be. And now that I understand that, I look at discipline so much differently now. I have this different appreciation and respect for discipline. And I'm not running away from it anymore. I'm more willingly welcoming it into my space. Number 3, death allows space for life. The life of new ideas, of new beliefs, of new values, and of new changes. This lesson was a really big one for me because this podcast was the result of someone dying, and death has had this space in my life where I used to be really angry at it, and then I was resentful. And over the last few years, particularly in the last 12 months, I've grown from that anger and that hatred and that resentment to gratitude and even joy, right? And that can be challenging for some people to understand. But death now, when I think of it, I don't just think about it as the death of the body or the death of a loved one. I think about it as the tiny things that have to die so that life can happen within us. I think about my experience when it comes to like some of the ideas I used to have, some of the limiting beliefs I used to have, and how they've impacted my life, and how the death of those beliefs, how the death of those ideas have turned things around for me in my life. And I'm so grateful for those things dying, for those things returning to the earth, because if they were still within me, they wouldn't be helping me become who I want to be. So a lot of us think of death as this sad thing that's going to happen anyway, but it's really sad and we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to think about it because we're thinking about the death of the person we care about, the death of the memories we have, the death of, the ability to contact them. But in reality, when I think of death now, I just think about being able to be renewed. Things do have to die for life to happen. Some things that you're doing right now, you have to stop doing them in order for you to do the things that you need to do to become who you want to be. You have to bridge that gap between the person you are right now and the person you want to be in the future. And what does that person look like? And that can only happen by things dying, by parts of you dying. And I've learned that when I allow things to die without a fight, then I can get through the grieving process faster and then see how this situation actually is helping me for the better. And a lot of us don't give ourselves that space. And over the past 12 months, I really learned that the death it's an invitation to live. It's not something to really be sad about. Number 4, being available is not easy. One of the things I do in my work is be available. Like I'm available to my clients. And because I do it at work, I realize I actually just don't do that at work. I do it everywhere. I do it in my personal life. I do it with my friends. I do it with strangers in the street. Like I'm just available to people. And it's part of doing this work for myself. Like my growth, part of manifesting my growth is that I have learned to remove these layers and layers and layers and gotten to the point now that people's energy, I'm so sensitive to it and I can really connect with it and I'm really available to that energy, or I'm available to them as human beings. I'm available to their needs. And it's not an easy thing to do. A lot of us want people to be available to us, but it is really hard to be available. Imagine being available to the unknown and ready to embrace it. If you are afraid of the unknown, you're going to freak out about being available, because being available is all about the unknown. It's all about you not knowing what's going on with people and generally having a desire to see how they're doing. And then when you ask them how they're doing, then you have to be ready for whatever that is and however that might make you feel and how that might change your behavior. It is layers upon layers that you need to be thinking about and preparing yourself for to be available. And if you hadn't thought about those things, think about them now. But being available is such a beautiful experience because then you realize how connected we are with one another. You realize that we are all going through the same thing. In some shape or form, we are all in need of love and kindness and compassion. And we deserve to give each other grace, to give each other that patience. So while it could be a really challenging process, it's something that we should all strive to get better at. because he has really helped humanize me in a different way. He has helped me more sensitive to the needs of other people, needs that for many years in my life I didn't really care about. And now I'm seeing how important it is to care about it, because we are all connected and we are all human and we all deserve love and kindness. And one of the things about being available is that you also have to be available for yourself. It's not just to be available to other people. We always think of these experiences as being really external, but you also have to be available to be honest with you, to be available to who you are. And a lot of us aren't. A lot of us are running away from who we are because we are afraid of what we're going to find when we go digging. And then we don't have no idea how that whatever we find is going to make us feel. And then how that thing that makes us feel is going to manifest in our lives. We don't know any of that. And we are so afraid of what that can look like that we don't even go searching for it. So being available to you, it gives you the key to all of that stuff. It gives you the key to who you are, to why you act like that, to how can you change it if you want to. And we cannot do that unless we become available. So as challenging as that experience has been for me over the past 12 months, it has helped me tenfold. It is worth every single second that I've spent working on it, because being available to me first has allowed me to become more available to others. And as in return, I've been more available to be a wife to my husband, a daughter to my mother, but also a friend, a sister to my siblings, and an auntie to my nieces and nephews, but really also a human. And that's the beauty of being available. It just makes us so much more honest, and it allows you to be honest with yourself in a different way. And speaking of honesty, number 5, the past 12 months taught me that honesty with yourself is harder than you think. Who knew it was as hard to be honest with yourself? I'm like, full transparency, this has been so eye-opening to me, because I thought I was honest with myself, but I wasn't. You know, I thought I had an honest dialogue with myself, but I didn't. And learning that experience, learning that that's how things, that I wasn't like that, learning that I wasn't honest with me was a real eye-opener, because it showed up in the really random way. Like I had my friends complete this email and tell me the things that they felt like were my weaknesses or things they couldn't count on me for. And with a number of them responded back and said it was my punctuality. I couldn't be counted to be on time. And that surprised me, because I thought I was always on time, you know? And it turns out that being late sometimes means that you're late a lot. And I had never realized that to that point. It might sound insane to someone listening, but no one had even told me. Like, I didn't know I was late all the time. I thought I was always on time. And that really was a eye-opening moment for me about honesty. Because if I wasn't honest with myself about something that was quote unquote so obvious, right? Something that was sometimes a big deal, then what was I not available to be honest with? What else was I keeping from myself, from who I really am, because I'm so busy trying to pretend to be something I'm not? And it turned out a lot. So the more I go on my journey and the more work I do about it, I'm just more and more excited and interested in exploring deeper levels of honesty with me. And what's interesting about that is that my husband didn't even feel like he could be honest with me 100% either. That's something that he learned later on. Once I was ready to be honest with myself, I invited him through that behavior, that honest behavior that I had with myself, to be honest with me. And it's crazy, like it's almost over 5 years in the game, and he's finally feeling that he's able to do that with me. And I'm grateful that we got into this point. I'm grateful that that's how growth is manifesting in my life. Number 6, everyone needs a life principle, something that holds them together. One of the things that clients that I work with, I have them, we will be right back after this brief message. Hola, mis amores. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Get Unstuck podcast. I love having these conversations because they help shed light on the issues many millennial women feeling stuck are struggling with on a daily basis as they look for ways to overcome their paralysis. Can you do me a favor? If you find this episode helpful, please leave me a review and tell me what connected with you about this conversation. It will help me bring you guests that you're going to love, and you may catch your thoughts during our fan love segment. Now back to the episode. We work together through is defining what's our life principle, defining what is the one thing that holds us together. And what I mean by that is, what is the line or phrase that you're going to go to when you're making your decisions, right? A lot of us don't have anything like that, nothing that guides us, nothing that helps determine how we move our steps. And because we don't have anything like that, life just kind of happens to us. Instead of life happening through us, it just kind of happens to us. And things just happen all willy-nilly, and we don't ever feel like we're in control. And sometimes we feel stuck in the situation. So understanding that you have something that you can test things by, something that lets you know, should I move this way or not, has been really powerful to me. And my husband's life principle, and it could be a word, it could be a phrase, or it could be a sentence. It's up to you, a statement. My husband's is question everything. That's his life principle. Everything in his life, he questions it. And I can tell you, as a active participant in his life, that he does question it, and he questions every single thing. So that's an example. One of the ones that I love is by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's not particularly a life principle of his, but is one of the agreements that I think of as a life principle, and that's don't take anything personally. That's something that you can utilize to help guide your life, to help guide your steps, things that you might need to work on. And another one that I love is be a source of light. That's something that I certainly try to live my life by, being a source of light, being someone that helps diffuse situations instead of making them worse or igniting them in a particular way. So I've learned that having something in my life that helps me work through these decisions and helps me make sure that what I'm doing is in alignment with who I want to become has been really helpful to me. And if you don't have a life principle, I encourage that you think about it. You don't have to marry your life principle. You can change it depending on the season in your life. You can have something that you do in your life and then have a mini life principle for, the next few years or something like that. You can do whatever you want. So I just think that that's something that a lot of us can utilize, and having something that holds your decision-making process together that's based on who you want to be is at the core of becoming the woman that you want to be. Number 7, you have all the answers, and because no one knows you better than you know yourself. I think I've talked about on the podcast before about my challenges with needing guidance from other people and not feeling like I had all the answers. And over the past 12 months, I've learned that I have all the answers. I have all the answers that work for Nory, for the things that Nory wants to accomplish in the way that Nory wants to get them done. And that doesn't mean I have all the answers for other people, but I have all the answers for me because I can only control me. So learning that I have all the answers has also meant that I can make the decisions and I can give myself permission to act. Even if I don't feel like I am an expert on something specifically, that doesn't keep me, because I'm an expert in Nory. I know what Nory needs. I know what Nory cares about. I know what keeps Nory up at night. I know what Nory is afraid of. I know what Nory is not afraid of, and where Nory pulls her motivation from or her drive from. And by knowing all these things about myself, I also know I'm the best person equipped to make the decisions about whatever has to do with me in the business. And for a long time, I didn't feel like that because I felt like I wasn't an expert. I felt like, what have I done to prove myself? Or I felt like somebody else knows more than I do and I need to do what they're doing. But it has been in the process of getting empowered to make my decisions and to understand that I have all the answers that I've learned that you make the decisions anyway. And whatever the outcome is, it's a learning lesson. It's not a failure. It's not a success. It's feedback. It's feedback around what's working and what's not working. And that's the number one thing that's important. And As someone that used to feel like I didn't have any answers, knowing that I have all the answers has brought me so much peace of mind. It has brought me another sense of ease, a deeper sense of ease. And it has really helped me feel empowered to do my work even more and more and more every day. Like, I'm more excited about doing this work today than I've ever been in my entire life. And I'm just so grateful for that. Number 8, everyone yearns for compassion, kindness, love, and understanding. This is a lesson that I didn't realize. I think I didn't realize this as much before, but over the past 12 months, I really realized that that's really what people want. That's what they yearn for. That's what they look for. That's what they wish they had. And no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, what you do, some part of you is yearning for that. Some part of you is yearning for that understanding. Some part of you is yearning for that kindness, for that love, for that compassion. And I understand that today more than ever before. And that's why I'm so willing to give it to people joyfully, because we all want it. We all need it, and we don't get enough of it. And it empowers me to do this work, but it also empowers me to just be a more loving human, because we all hurting. We all have something we're healing from. Some of us know it, some of us don't. And once you know that everybody has something that they're healing from, you can be a little nicer. You can be a little more caring. You can actually care a little bit more. And that's kind of where I am in my life right now. Lesson number 9, I have the ability to become my own safe space. I am home. For many years, I felt like I was searching for a safe space. I felt like I was searching for home. After I left Honduras as a kid, I never really felt like I got home again. And I have been looking for that home. And then I got older and the idea of safe spaces started coming up, right? And I started feeling like I also need a safe space, being Afro-Latina, being a Garifuna, being a woman of color, being all of these other labels that I've used to describe myself. I felt like I needed a safe space at some point. And what I've realized is that I don't need a safe space. I don't need a space where I can go and be who I am, because what's going to happen if that space is gone? Am I not then allowed to be who I am? Do I not have the courage to be who I am everywhere? Why does it only have to happen in one space? And I felt like I don't want to do that. I don't want to have a space. I want to be able to be who I am everywhere, no matter who's around. And because of that, I learned that the only way that can happen is by becoming my own safe space, by being safe within my skin, by being safe in my own energy. And by doing that, by being in a space where I am safe, being in my skin and being with myself, I'm my own safe space. Everywhere I am, I'm safe. Everywhere I am, I feel safe to be who I am, to speak how I speak, to move how I move, and to trust my intuition and to listen. And I've never felt like that before, because I always felt like I needed to have a space to do that. I needed to do it at home. I needed to do it in the privacy of friends, or I needed to do it when, no one was looking, when my reputation couldn't, be whatever. So, or my brand wasn't on the line or something. But now I'm like, I am my own safe space. I feel so safe in my skin. I feel so loving in my own being, in the presence of my own energy, that I don't need to be anywhere else to be who I am and to feel how I feel and to express that. And the amount of growth that has happened in my life so that I can share that with you and tell you about it, but not only that, but feel it and genuinely feel it. Y'all don't know. You have no idea how crazy it's been. But maybe you do. Maybe you do, because you're going through it. You're going through it too. So I know what you're going through, and you're going through a lot. But I want you to know that you can make it. Every single lesson I've shared with you so far is a manifestation of that. But it takes work, and it's painful, and it's uncomfortable. But you could do it, because you are on this earth. And if you're here, you're capable. Number 10, growth is not always painless and comfortable. How fitting. Growth is not always comfortable and painless. You guys know this, right? If you did not know that, I learned that this year. You're not alone. If you didn't know that, or if you had not internalized it, you're not alone, because that's where I was 12 months ago. I hadn't really realized that growth needed to look like pain sometimes. And I talked about the pain of my husband not singing me happy birthday last year. And I think it was part 2 of the conversation I had with JP, my husband. And it was part 2. When I talked about that with him, it was really painful. There was so much pain attached to that story. And I had to go through that pain to grow. And if somebody would have told me that that's the type of pain you need to be willingly able to deal with to grow, I would have been like, get out of my face, you're crazy. And now I'm like, I understand. And I understand why. And we limit our ability to grow because we're so afraid of the pain. We're so afraid of the discomfort. But that's not going anywhere because we live uncomfortable lives. We live painful lives pretending to be who we are not so that we can be accepted by people we don't really like. And what's more painful than that? Number 11, your intuition is always eager to guide you. All you have to do is pay attention. If I had the time to discuss this lesson with y'all today. The way my intuition has been trying to talk to me, and I've been actively ignoring it, is kind of wild. And I used to hear people talking about their intuition. They're like, oh my God, just listen to your intuition, be centered. And I had no idea what they were talking about. Like, I didn't know what they were talking about. I wanted to know. I was eager to know, but I didn't know. And the crazy thing about me being connected with myself, the crazy thing about me taking the time to go through the pain of being available to myself and to my honesty is that my intuition just started talking to me loud and clear. And he empowered me to remove all the barriers that were keeping it hidden, that were keeping it quiet because of all the things that society had fed me, all the things that I had fed myself, all the things that I didn't know and was pretending to know so that I can be accepted. All these different things that I wasn't. I was able to remove it and at least get better at removing it faster and faster. And as a result of that, the voice of my intuition has just been getting louder and louder every single day. And that's how I get all those answers I mentioned earlier. That's where they come from. And then it comes from me knowing who I am, knowing how I behave, knowing what my patterns are like, and using that information to unleash the woman I want to be. And my intuition is helping me do that every single day. And I'm so grateful to her. I'm so grateful for the patience she's had with me. I'm so grateful for the kindness which she treats me. And I'm grateful for us building this relationship together, because if you don't know your intuition, if you don't communicate with her, if you don't allow her into your space to guide you, you're going to continue to live a life that's not in alignment with who you are, because that's your map. And if you're not paying attention to the map, then where are you going? And why are you going there? And are you going to like it when you get there? So learning that my intuition is always guiding me was a major turning point in my life. And in the 12 months, I was able to do that. So much happened in this past 12 months. I'm entering the last lesson with you right now. And there's so much that has gone on that I haven't shared, but I think that it boils down to the lessons I've shared with you today. And the last lesson, number 12, that I've learned is love yourself no matter what. You have to love yourself no matter what. You have to love yourself when you feel like you're doing the things that you want to do. You have to love yourself when you're doing the things that you don't want to do. You have to love yourself when you like the outcome. You have to love yourself when you don't like the outcome. You have to love yourself when you are being nice to yourself. And you also have to love yourself when you're being not so nice and manifesting your pain with yourself. And that can be really hard, because we live in this society that glorifies a certain image, that glorifies a certain status, that glorifies a certain ideal. And when we don't live up to the ideal, we judge ourselves, and then we punish ourselves for not being who we have been told we needed to be. And it is when you learn to love yourself no matter what that you can break through that chain, is that you can remove yourself out of this cocoon that might have you feeling trapped, and And it's really powerful to fight that with love. And this past 12 months, I've learned what it means to love myself no matter what it means to love myself enough to forgive myself, to love myself enough so that I don't run away from myself and I can be uncomfortably honest with myself, to love myself enough to run towards pain and discomfort so that I can heal myself and grow and manifest in my life. All of that is rooted in love, in the love to see me flourish and to become the woman that I always wanted to be and that I know I can be because I am her. And to do that, I had to lean a lot on love. And a lot of us think that these things are not possible for us. Somebody might be listening to this and thinking, well, Nory, you got it like that or something. But I don't. I don't got it like that. I was struggling just like you. I was in pain just like you. I felt defeated and drained just like you. I was exhausted just like you. And I was pretending just like you. And when I decided to be responsible for myself, when I became available to myself and embraced being uncomfortably honest with myself, things started changing a lot. And I began to really love myself and show up for myself, not only when it felt good, but when it was inconvenient. And that's really what has taught me all those lessons that I share with you today. And I hope that you know that this is what growth can look like, that this is how it can manifest in your life or in the life of the people you love. And I invite you to welcome these lessons into your space. And I invite you to be available to learning them. And in return, you'll watch your life transform itself before your own eyes. And you will learn to love yourself no matter what if you don't already. You will learn to become the woman that knows exactly who she is, has full clarity on what she wants, is not afraid to go after it, and unapologetically steps into her purpose. You will become that woman. Everything is possible, but it starts with you. The same way you had to start with me. So thank you for listening to today's episode. I love you so much. I'm so grateful for you, for your spirit. If you started with a heavy spirit today, I hope it's feeling lighter and at ease. And I look forward to our next time together. Hasta luego. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Get Unstuck podcast. I know you have endless options you can listen to while driving, working out, riding the train, or cooking your favorite meal. I truly appreciate that you've decided to spend your time with me. I hope today's conversation left you feeling a little less stuck and empowered to take action towards becoming the woman that you want to be. If you found today's episode helpful, please show us some love by leaving us a 5-star or 6-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Spotify, Stitcher, or Google Play. To get the show notes, head to IamHealthyFit.com and make sure you join the mailing list. You'll get access to a free training video to help you overcome your paralysis, get out of your head, and love yourself no matter what, starting today. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can find me on Instagram at Nory Pouncil. That's NoryPouncil. Hasta luego.